Welcome to Before the Kickoff, the Daily Iowans weekly pregame show and your number one source for Hawkeye football. I'm Colin Carruthers.
And I'm Elise Gann. We're going to break down everything you need to know before the kickoff.
Well, Elise, I got to say, from this past weekend, I strongly disliked, if I will put it that way, being in Ames, Iowa.
Yeah, Colin, Ames is definitely not for the week, and I personally am perfectly fine with never going there ever again. I am completely content here in Iowa City. That is where the real ones are at.
I know, but it's probably a little bit more somber scene here in Iowa City over the weekend. And to learn about why, let's take a look back at that Cy-Hawk matchup from this past Saturday. Iowa went to Iowa State Jack Trice Stadium where the helmet cart was brought back. I was pretty fond of it. We had a flyover and the likes of Big Noon Kickoff. You saw their Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark. But to start the game, Iowa State got on the board first with a 3-0 lead. It was Kyle Conradi with a field goal there, and you get another one in the first quarter. We'll slow it down. You see the ball there in the bottom of the corner. So with the 6-0 lead at the end of the first quarter, few fans there happy, but Iowa needs to strike and get on the board, which they would with the boot of Drew Stevens, making it a 6-3 game. But Iowa State, they're ranked. Iowa isn't. They want some more separation on the scoreboard. It'd be Rocco Beck finding a receiver in the end zone for the first touchdown in this game. Iowa State would lead 13-3, but right as we went into halftime, it was the final drive. Iowa found themselves in the end zone. Mark Gronowski with the keeper rushing his way in, makes it 13-10. The Iowa momentum was starting to be felt pretty well, and obviously not a very happy Iowa State sideline going into that second half. And in that second half, Iowa would tie things up 13 apiece with a Drew Stevens field goal. It came down to the final few minutes of the fourth quarter. A 54-yard field goal. Kyle Conradi, not too much air, but he would get it to go. Iowa State wins this ball game 16-13, and they keep the Cy-Hawk trophy for the second consecutive year in Ames, Iowa. Well, Elise, obviously a devastating loss on the field for Hawkeyes, but they also had some devastating news with their personnel.
Yeah, Colin, not some great looks for the Hawks out there, but we'll leave it to Grace Lathrop in the newsroom to give us all the updates.
Yeah, guys, things did not look good for the Hawkeyes on Saturday when tight end Addison Ostrenga had to leave the game early for what appeared to be a lower leg injury. Kirk Ferentz was asked about this in the Cy-Hawk press conference, where he immediately signaled things did not look good and confirmed with everyone on Tuesday that Ostrenga will be out for the season and has already received surgery on his Achilles. Here's those comments from earlier this week.
Addison Ostrenga, unfortunately, is out for the season, so that's been confirmed. Addie, unfortunately, has got a Achilles injury, so they repaired that today and yesterday, and on the road to recovery.
That means that Zach Orworth will be stepping in to start as tight end for the Hawks. But other than that, nothing too different from last week. However, we are seeing our first change with the captains for this game. Mark Gronowski, Cohen Intringer, and Logan Jones remain captains like they have for the first 2 weeks, but Ethan Herkett was named a captain in place of Aaron Graves, who had the spot to this point of the season. The graduate has already recorded 5 total tackles and 1.5 tackles for loss in the first 2 games. The Ostrenga news is definitely the most important and notable update for this week, and obviously it's never good to hear about an injury, but hopefully some better stuff can come out of your guys' breakdown.
Thank you, Grace, for giving that unfortunate news for Hawkeye fans. However, going to be some good news coming up for them regarding the upcoming weekend, Elise.
Oh yeah, Colin, although UMass is already a break enough for Iowa after Iowa State, and before kicking off Big Ten play against Rutgers next week, the Hawkeyes got even luckier in their last non-conference matchup.
Yeah, UMass is one of the worst programs in recent history in all of FBS. They average just over 2 wins per season over the past 10 years and have started 0-2 this year with a 32-point loss to Temple and a loss to FCS Bryant after being favored by 16.5 points. You know how bad it is to struggle that much every year, still be favored by 16.5 points, and still lose to FCS Bryant. However, they are under first-year head coach Joe Harasimiak, who previously was the defensive coordinator at Rutgers, and Kirk Ferentz took a moment to recognize his upcoming foe.
Interesting with UMass, looking at them, basically it's like a new program. They made a switch at the head coaching position last year. He's a defensive coach. A little bit familiarity there in terms of philosophical approach to the game.
Well, Colin, let's talk about their play in those games, starting with the captain of the offense. Quarterback Brandon Rose, Rose got injured against Bryant, which could be a blessing in disguise to go for the backup. for UMass, as Rose hasn't been phenomenal in his first 2 games, going 24 for 44 with 217 yards with no touchdowns and 1 interception. However, backup Grant Jordan's stats are similar, with him going 15 for 24 with 211 yards, no touchdowns, and 1 interception. Usually, the loss of a team's starting quarterback is game-changing, but in this case, the Hawkeyes shouldn't approach this Saturday any different. Again, the difference in skill between these 2 quarterbacks is slim, and the Iowa defense is coming off a game against one of the best offenses in the country, so this could be an incredibly unfortunate game offensively for the Minutemen.
Well, at least the Minutemen will still have their wide receivers to help out Grant Jordan. Standout Cy Harding and Jake McConaughey. What? Hold on. Okay, there's the notes. Whatever. I guess both wide receiver 2 and wide receiver 3 are injured as well. The Minutemen will have to rely heavily on Jacqueline Gibson, who's off to a phenomenal start. He has 19 receptions for 221 yards and has garnered 39.7% of the targets from his quarterback so far.
Well, want to talk about a roster of new faces plagued by the transfer portal? Look no further than just the UMass defensive line itself. 6 of their guys getting the most snaps on the line were added in the portal. The defensive ends are where they make the most noise, with Rutgers transfer David Anawa and Florida State transfer Chambray Jackson, both with 8 tackles each and a combined 11 QB pressures. But when you start to look at the defense as a whole, it starts to look really similar to Rutgers last season, giving this group more film to work off than just week 1 and week 2 for UMass.
We're assuming and kind of have seen so far in the first 2 games that UMass has had that he's brought that defense over. I mean, they're running it pretty much very similar to what Rutgers was doing last year, which is going to give us a lot of good shots downfield. They run a lot of man coverage and just try to attack us in that way.
Well, things really start to go downhill when you look at that UMass secondary, though. The UMass defensive backs are currently ranked 119th in the country in pass protection, which is pretty nice for Iowa, since they'll be trying to clean up their passing game after the massive struggles against Albany and Iowa State that's led to Mark Gronowski breaking the record of least amount of passing yards for a Big Ten quarterback in their first 2 games of a season with 127 yards. Davidson transfer TJ McGee is the #1 back for UMass with 6 tackles on the season, but he'll get some support from guys like Brennan Bailey and Virginia transfer Malcolm Green. Oh my God. Okay, whatever. Green is also out injured. Moral of the story is half the team is hurt on an already struggling team, and Iowa heads into this game a 33.5-point favorite, which they kind of need for this week, Elise.
Yeah, it should be nice having that comfortability as Hawkeye head coach Kirk Ferentz searches to surpass Woody Hayes and become the Big Ten all-time winningest coach. Kirk Ferentz is in his 27th season at the helm of the Iowa Hawkeyes, where he's won 205 games. He started his career with only 2 wins in his first 20 games as Iowa's head coach, but now 1 more win and he passes Ohio State's Woody Hayes to climb atop the coaching leaderboard. While we hear plenty of comments about Kirk Ferentz being humble about the whole situation and not thinking much of it, here's what players had to say about being part of the team that could break this record.
That'd be pretty cool to be on that team that Coach Ferentz did break that record on. Hopefully it does happen this week, and we're preparing for it. And if it does, that's really cool.
It's really cool. And after our first game this year, I kind of gave him a little congrats. I think I mentioned this last time, but he said, like, oh, it's nothing. Don't even worry about it. Like, I'll celebrate it when I'm retired.
And Colin, I know Kirk has the whole Iowa team behind him, but he might need 1 more person to help him break this record.
I would absolutely agree, especially when head coach Kirk Ferentz brings up the kid captain during every week during his press conferences. This week, Cole Krieger has a story on kid captain Gwendolyn Klaus.
Gwendolyn Klaus's mother, Natalie, described her pregnancy with Gwendolyn as, quote, a picture-perfect pregnancy. When the doctors noticed something unusual, they recommended Stead Family Children's Hospital.
They called a few days later. She told me what it was, and I asked her to spell it. I remember specifically, I wrote it down, and then I asked her, is my baby gonna die?
Testing discovered that Gwendolyn was diagnosed with something called Zellweger spectrum disorder, a disorder that has no treatment or cure. Children with the disorder usually don't live past their first birthday. Gwendolyn has also lost her hearing and vision while also being diagnosed with stage 4 liver disease. Through all the odds and all the testing, Gwendolyn Iris Klaus is now 7 years old and thriving in her first grade classroom. She loves anything to do with swimming and being by the water, listening to other kids read, snuggles with her family members, and her stuffed animals.
The school she goes to is just remarkable. They've taught her how to communicate using tactile devices.
Every single morning, Gwendolyn receives a special message from her mother and her younger brother to make sure no day is taken for granted.
Good morning, Gwendolyn Iris. Mommy loves you.
Surrounded by her parents and her two brothers, Gwendolyn and the Klaus family will walk into Kinnick Stadium on Saturday wearing their Team Gwen t-shirts. Sporting her iconic bow hair tie, Gwendolyn and her family will get to wave for the first time outside of Stead Family Children's Hospital to the song Lean On Me by Bill Withers. From the University of Iowa, Cole Krieger, DITV Sports.
Well, thank you for that, Cole. As always, an amazing story told by him, but as well for these kid captains.
I always love learning about these kids and these families and how they navigate such hard situations, but you know what else I like to learn about?
You got to tell me. I don't know.
I like to learn about some good old football history, and today we have Dr. Ryan Paris in the classroom to teach us a lesson.
Good morning, class. This is History of Iowa Football with Dr. Paris. Instead of an apple on my desk, I've got a belt on my monitor. Okay, pop quiz. What is Iowa's all-time record against UMass? If you guessed 0-0, you'd be correct. This will be the first meeting between the two sides in football, though they have met numerous times in other sports. The Minutemen and the Hawkeyes played each other in baseball in 2004, with UMass eking out a 4-2 win in extra innings. In field hockey, these teams have played 3 times, with Iowa winning the recent meetings in 2011 and 2022 in shutout fashion. And back in the time before Caitlin Clark, when Megan Gustafson was the face of the Iowa women's basketball team, the Hawkeyes crushed the Minutemen, or Minutewomen, 71-30. But focusing on football, UMass hasn't finished above 500 since 2010 when they were in the FCS. They also haven't had a better record than Iowa since 2007 when the Minutemen were 10-3 and the Hawkeyes were 6-6. In fact, UMass hasn't had a winning record in any season they've been a part of the FBS. With that being said, UMass has a new coaching staff with some Big Ten experience. Head coach Joe Harasimiak most recently spent 3 seasons as the defensive coordinator for Rutgers after sitting in the same position at Minnesota. Their offensive coordinator and O-line coach both spent time at Northwestern, while their defensive coordinator coached with Harasimiak at Rutgers. And coming out of Iowa Western, Caden Weechin was recruited by just 2 schools, Iowa and UMass. Safe to say he made the right decision coming over to the Hawkeyes. And Xavier Nwankpo was also recruited by Harasimiak when he was at Minnesota. Besides that, Iowa has no other connections to the UMass program, which, based on their record, might be a good thing. We might not see a historic beatdown this Saturday, but we should see the Hawkeyes dominate nonetheless. Well, time is up for our class today, but now I'll send it back to Colin and Elise.
Well, I don't know about you, Colin, but I think it's pretty cool that this is the first time these teams will ever meet, but I'm kind of ready to face some rivals and see some teams we've already played.
Well, first of all, I got to touch on this. I feel like we're throwing the term doctor around a little too loosely there, I guess because he won the predictions belt his first 2 weeks, but I am absolutely ready for that as well. And before we get to that, let's learn about this week's matchups with Cole Krieger, who's got our look around the Big Ten.
Thanks, guys. As we all know, it is now week 3 of the college football season, which means we finally have some Big Ten versus Big Ten matchups. We start off the coast of Lake Michigan, where the 1-1 Northwestern Wildcats host the 4th-ranked Oregon Ducks on Saturday, starting at 11. The Ducks are led by quarterback Dante Moore, who transferred in from UCLA 2 years ago. After sitting behind Dylan Gabriel for a season, Moore and the Ducks are off to another hot start. This will be their first matchup between these schools as Big Ten foes. However, they did play each other one time 51 years ago. The Wildcats defeated the Ducks 14-10 back in 1974. Moving down south to sweet old Alabama, the Wisconsin Badgers are off to a 2-0 start, and they travel down to Tuscaloosa to take on the Crimson Tide. The Badgers transfer quarterback Billy Edwards is doubtful for Saturday's game, which means San Diego State transfer Danny O'Neal will make his 2nd start. In his first career start against the Middle Tennessee State Blue Raiders, O'Neal diced up the Blue Raider defense, throwing for 283 yards and 3 touchdowns. Moving over to the home team in this matchup, the Crimson Tide bounced back in a huge way after their Week 2 loss to Florida State in Week 1 with a 73-0 throttling of the UL Monroe Warhawks. Redshirt junior quarterback Ty Simpson was flawless, going 17 for 17 passing and registering a quarterback rating of 269.9. Wisconsin versus Alabama will begin at 11. And for my final game preview of the week, let's head over to the West Coast, a game that I believe is being overlooked by everyone. That's right, I'm talking about the Minnesota Golden Gophers versus the California Golden Bears. Now, if you're brave enough to stay up for this 9:30 kickoff time, a player to watch out for on the Minnesota Golden Gopher defense is former Iowa corner John Nestor. Last week in Minnesota's 66-0 thumping of Northwestern State, Nestor intercepted a pass and ran it back for 6 on the opening play of the game. Nestor also added an interception and a pass breakup for a 99.3 coverage grade. The Cal Golden Bears are led by true freshman quarterback Jaron Kiave Sonwol Palotele. The true freshman from Hawaii won the starting job over Ohio State transferred quarterback Devin Brown and now looks to help Cal to their second straight 3-0 start. That was a look at what's happening around the conference. Colin and Elise, back to you guys.
Well, Colin, it feels like we've just been shoveling quite a bit of information at everyone.
I know, I think it's in everyone's best interest. So right now, you and I take a deep breath, we relax, and we play a quick game. This week, we're taking a trip down memory lane. In front of me, you can see a scatter of red Solo cups, and underneath them is a slip, and written on them are some of the most notable wins in Kirk Ferentz's career. He's coming down to potentially becoming the Big Ten's winningest head coach, and we thought we'd take a moment to recognize all of his success. So what contestants will do this week is they'll come up here and join me at the desk. They'll select a different red Solo cup, and whatever win total it is on that card is how many points they get. They'll get 2 rounds each. Whoever has the most points by how many wins they selected will be the winner of this week's game show. So joining me up here first this week is Mr. Cole Krieger. I like how we're doing a handshake and acting like we don't talk to each other every 5 minutes. But Cole, you have the first selection from the 14 cups up here.
All right, I think I'm going to go this one right in the middle.
Right in the middle, we've got the 37th win on Kirk Ferentz's career. Notable because this was at Penn State, and that was that 6-4 win in Kirk Ferentz's career against the Nittany Lions. So you can keep this. You got 37 points so far. All right, so second up, Grace, go ahead and make your selection here among the cups.
So hard to choose, Colin.
It is. There's a lot out there right now. A lot of pressure. You could select the first win. You could select his 200th win.
Okay.
Not to make it harder on you or anything.
I'm going to go with this one.
All right, a little bit further. Oh, pick number 100 for Grace. Look at that right there.
Yay.
That's a double overtime win at Michigan State back in 2012. So you can keep this 100 points so far for Grace.
Thanks, Colin.
And stepping up with our third pick of the Kirk Ferentz notable wins draft here. Go ahead and take a selection at any cup you would like, Elise.
Okay, I'm going to take this far one.
Ooh, all the way out here. 144 wins on Kirk Ferentz's career. It's against Northern Illinois. This is when he passed Hayden Fry for most wins in Iowa school history. You keep that with you, and now you're in the lead. And now, Ryan Paris with the last selection here in our first round. Go ahead and take your pick for Kirk Ferentz's notable wins. Right here towards the middle, and it is his first career win, which is pretty cool in general. It's against Northern Illinois.
Not great for
However,
points, though.
It is terrible for the objective of this game. You can keep this for now, but stay right here. We're going to treat this snake draft style. So you got the last pick of this round, and now the final round, you're going to need to probably find that 200 win up here. It's in here somewhere, but you're right now in last place. Let's see what you come up here to start this final round.
I had eyes on this one the entire time, so I have to trust my
Trust
gut.
your intuition. That's what this game's about. The 175th win on Kirk Ferentz's career. That one was at Northwestern. So currently now, Ryan Paris goes from dead last to first place with 176 points, but we'll see if anyone passes you up. Keep this with you.
Awesome.
Well, now, welcome back, Elise, with your second and final pick. Of course, Ryan got that 175 win, so you're trailing by 32 right now as you got the 144 win last time, but let's see what you select this time.
I was looking at this one.
You got to go for it. And it is win number 195 for Elise. That was against Illinois, and it passed Kirk Ferentz into the number 4 spot in Big Ten win history, and that is going to soar you into first place. So we'll see if anyone is able to surpass that and find that 200th win. All right, step back up, Grace, for your final pick here. You had the 100th win on Kirk Ferentz's career last time, and I know Elise got that big number, but let's see what you can grab here.
I feel like the 200th is over here.
We've all been kind of leaning this side. You still feel like it might be here, just everyone's dancing around?
Maybe not.
Or maybe it is on that right side. We haven't really
nerve-wracking.
leaned over there.
I'm feeling this one.
I think you got to go for it.
Oh, no.
What is it? It's his second win versus Michigan State, which is also his first career Big Ten win, but That's not going to boost you many points. You're now at 102 and sit in 3rd place.
That's okay. I can still beat Cole. So.
You still beat Cole.
That's all right.
And now with our final pick for this week's game show, there's still 7 selections out there, so a lot of different choices you can have. You're currently at 37 points, which is in last place. Yeah. Grace is at 102. You could pass her. Ryan Paris at 176. And then Elise is at 339. Probably not passing her in the lead, but let's see if maybe you can move up to 3rd.
Right. This one's been calling my name ever since I got off the first round, so I'm just going to go straight into it, Colin.
Oh, a fantastic pick that will move you, I think, into 2nd place. The 150th win at Illinois in Kirk Ferentz's career. So that'll do it for this week's game show. Unfortunately, you won't win, but Elise Gann will be the winner for this week with 339 points.
Nice to take a look back there in one of the greatest careers in all of college football.
Absolutely, but now I think it's time that we take a look ahead and predict exactly how Kirk Ferentz may break that record on Saturday, assuming Iowa beats UMass. We'll start back in the newsroom with Grace Lathrop and her prediction for the Hawkeyes and Minutemen.
Guys, I like Iowa in this one. I've got Iowa winning 28-13 for this game. This may be different from the rest of you guys, but all I'm saying is everyone thought the UAlbany game was going to be a 40-0 blowout, and I said, you know guys, this may be a bit of a stretch, and turns out I was right. So I'm not going to get too ahead of myself, and although I'm giving Iowa the win, I still think Gronowski needs some warming up to do, so UMass may be able to score get a couple of touchdowns in. Now, Ryan, I'm sure you have a lot to say about your predictions this week, so take it away.
You know how there are like famously infinite versions of Monopoly? There's regular Monopoly, Monopoly Cheaters Edition, where you can only cheat within the rules, Dogopoly, Chicagopoly, and this had me thinking that I should create my own game because I'm 2 for 2 on winning the BTK belt. Enter Monopoly BTK Edition. I'm going to be making this if I win a 3rd game in a row. We're going to play it on the show next week. But in order to do that, I have to win one more week of predictions. Give me Iowa 37-6. I think UMass either gets 2 field goals or a touchdown with a failed extra point. The Iowa defense is going to force a couple of turnovers this week, and half the student section will be out of the stadium by the start of the 4th quarter because this one will not be close. Cole, let's see what you got in store.
Thanks, Ryan. Now, I stole a fantasy win from you this past week. Now I'm going to steal something else off your hands. That's right. I'll be taking the belt off your hands this week. Now, give me the Hawkeyes bouncing back this week with a 37-0 shutout of the UMass Minutemen, with the offense clicking on both the passing game and the running game. Mark Gronowski especially gets back on track, but not just with his arm, but also using his legs. The Iowa defense surrenders just 1 touchdown last week to Iowa State, and I think they continue their momentum into Week 3 in this matchup. And I'll send it back to Elise and Colin for their Week 3 score prediction.
I know I betrayed them last week, but I am back with the Hawks. I've got Iowa slaughtering the Minutemen 41-7. I know a few of you don't have the Hawks breaking 40, which honestly is so fair. But in my opinion, if they don't score 40 points or over, and Gronowski doesn't throw at least 3 touchdowns, there is a serious problem, and a lot has to be reevaluated. And look, if Nebraska can beat a non-conference team 69-0, Iowa should be able to put at least 40 points on the board.
I can't disagree with that at all. I'm going to disagree with one little tiny point on there. I think you can predict I think you can say who I'm going to pick to win this game. Obviously, I'm going with the Iowa Hawkeyes. I've got Iowa winning this game 38-6. That's where I differ from you, Elise. I have them just under that 40 line. Yes, they should break 40. I think so as well. But I don't think they'll get the job done. However, they're 8 for 8 in the red zone so far this year. As long as they get down the distance, I think they'll do great. I think they'll put up a few extra field goals, get a few extra touchdowns, and I think most of them will be on the ground, though. Well, there it is, Elise. That's the only thing we really differ on this week. I've got them just under 40, and you've got them right above 40.
Yeah, we'll see who's right and who's wrong here, Colin, but it'll be a big one.
I know. Someone up here's got to win the belt eventually, right? Well, we'll see if someone will win it this Saturday, or if it'll be someone else on the crew for this week. But for now, thank you, Ryan, Cole, Grace, our entire tech crew, and you for tuning in to Before the Kickoff. Make sure to check out the Daily Iowans website and YouTube page for all the latest on Hawkeye sports and coverage of this weekend's game. From the University of Iowa, I'm Elise Gann. And I'm Colin Crithers. Have a fantastic weekend filled with football, everyone.